are you?
I'm doing good, man. You got your
Yeah,
carcass shirt on. You're
yeah,
ready to rock.
yeah, I'm ready to rock.
Awesome, man. I was trying to think, like,
Yeah,
how did we end up meeting, like, virtually? I know it was on Substack, but I can't remember where and when.
yeah. It was on Substack. I believe it was a note that you published
Oh,
mentioning there was not enough metal or
oh, yeah,
enough
that's
people
right.
talking about metal on Substack, and I said no, I gotta comment on this, and don't worry, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do stuff, so keep paying attention, I'll do it, so that's kind of like we got to know each other.
Yeah, yeah, awesome.
In the virtual world, and now in this Substack talk, so it's cool, yeah.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool.
Yeah.
So where are you at, man? You're Portugal, but
Porto,
where?
yes, Portugal or Porto is in the north of Portugal, north of Portugal.
Nice.
Um, yeah, actually, this I was uh, I was kind of worried about doing this because yesterday there was a power outage here in Oporto,
Yeah.
in Portugal, Spain, and some parts of France. So it was kind of hectic. There was no light, no water, and no internet. So I was kind of thinking of messaging you and saying, "Look, Chuck, maybe for another we have to reschedule this." But fortunately, no. The things got solved. We were without power from 11:30 in the morning until maybe 8:30 at night, probably.
Really?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah,
cow.
yeah,
That's a long time, man.
yeah. And water only we only had water at the beginning of this morning. My
What?
wife was always checking the tap and seeing, is there water? And I said, no, no, don't worry,
Oh
there's
my
no water.
God. Oh
So it was
man.
kind of yesterday it was kind of hectic, but today everything's fine. The sun is shining, so yeah, it's
Awesome,
cool.
man.
Actually, it's fortunate that you invited me this week because I'm not working. I'm on vacation. So I
Oh, all
said,
right.
cool. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because I have what you call a 9 to 5 job. So
I used to have one of those,
I
dude.
yeah. I believe you're familiar with that. So that's kind of my full time occupation, and then I just dabble on Substack and I write for a Portuguese metal site
Oh, cool.
um, in Portuguese, and then
Yeah.
the Substack I do it in English. I've been thinking about doing something in Portuguese too, because there's that possibility. We can
Yeah.
have multiple publications. So I'm thinking about it. Spoke to some friends of mine and said, "Well, that would be cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it one day. One day I'll do it. I just haven't found the time yet. So, but one day. I even have a cool name for it in Portuguese, but
All right. So what is it in Portuguese?
in Portuguese, it's got something to do with our exploratory past when we were sailors,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And it's got to do with cork because now our main export is cork. Uh, and in the United States, you use cork for isolating the space shuttle.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because of the heat. The
Right.
cork is a material that's very resistant to heat, so it's used in that sort of production. Apart from the bottles and other stuff and basic stuff, we
Right.
now have umbrellas made of cork, whatever, whatever you can think of.
So
So
what
that's
is the
kind of cool.
word? What is the word in
The word
Portuguese? Yeah.
in Portuguese is cortiça.
Ah, all right. Cool.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
cork, cortiça. It's
Yeah.
kind of similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping to start that when I have the time, because I know I'm a little lazy because I have on drafts on Substack, I have about 12, 14 ideas that I want to put out, and I can't find the time.
Oh
Sometimes
man.
it's easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. For instance, my the one about the prog rock, the one I wrote about prog rock, I don't know if you catch that.
Yeah, I
I
saw
talk
that.
about
Yeah.
Camel, I talk about Triumvirate, because when I was growing up, I was fortunate enough to have that from my father's record collection. So that was very cool.
Yeah.
And that one took me a long time, months. I was struggling with that. I wrote it, I raised it, I wrote it again. Sometimes it's difficult. And now the one I wrote about, this one I wrote about the one, the catchy title with the guns, girls, and
Yeah.
whatever about
Yeah.
holes. a friend of mine asked me, "Well, where did you get that idea?" And I said, "I was watching YouTube channel. I was watching Drumeo and I was watching Matt Cameron on Drumeo, and
Okay.
he was playing. It was an instructional video. He was talking about how to play Black Hole Sun, and I got me thinking. I said, Black Hole Sun, okay, hole.
Yeah.
So Black Sabbath, hole in the sky. Okay, so extreme, wholehearted. Our Aerosmith, hole in my soul. So there's a lot of holes in here, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of things. Alice in Chains, down in a hole. So I said, okay, I'll write a text about it. And he said, well, it's a good idea. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be validated, to be appreciated. So it's kind
Right.
of fun.
Yeah.
I've entered this. It's fun, you know. I try to be as correct as possible. Sometimes, one of these days I was watching a fellow YouTuber, no, a fellow Substacker was publishing something about grunge, and
Okay.
they were he was talking about grunge, and it was saying that Soundgarden was grunge. I don't think Soundgarden is grunge. Personally,
Oh,
I don't.
really?
I don't know. I don't know if you do. I don't. Just
I
because the band is from Seattle, I don't think it's grunge. It has, well,
yeah.
maybe I'll concede to it. The first record, the first record has got some elements. It's from that vibe. But after that, when they start recording their classic albums, I
Yeah.
don't think they are grunge. They are a classic, phenomenal band. Chris Cornell was a hell of a singer
Yeah.
songwriter. I mean,
So where
was a
would you put
tragic loss.
where would you put them? Where would you put Soundgarden?
Well, maybe
It's
in
hard
the
rock?
alternative metal, hard rock alternative metal category. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Okay.
so, for instance, Alice in Chains was another band that he put in there. I don't think so. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Any bands that I consider grunge, or for instance, grunge adjacent, like Tab, for instance, great band. I don't know if you know about them.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're a great band, Tab, and also what was the other one? I
Mudhoney?
think it was no, Mudhoney was there. I think we mentioned Mudhoney, but Melvins were not, and I think that's
Oh,
a
I
great.
don't.
It's an
Not.
absence.
I never think of the Melvins as being grunge ever.
No, no, they're not grunge, but they're definitely a grunge adjacent, or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah.
One of the whole sound, the rawness, the noise, that
Yeah.
attack, that sonic attack is definitely present in grunge bands. Definitely, definitely in
Yeah.
the great classics. Like
Yeah.
like Ted. I was mentioning Ted. Ted is a band that I've discovered recently, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't know about them, but it's a cool band. It's a very cool band. They have
Yeah.
interesting records. I believe they're a power trio, right? I believe
I
they're three
think.
guys.
Yeah. Did you?
I believe, yeah. Now that I'm thinking of it, I got the image of the guitar player and vocalist is the lead singer, but I think they were a trio. Maybe they were. We'll
Yeah. I
leave
can't
it in the comments. Someone in the comments can correct us, right? It's like the YouTube, right? We're talking, we're free flowing. Then if
Yeah.
someone has something to say, they can say,
Exactly,
they
man.
can say, yeah,
Exactly.
whatever.
So when did you get into metal? When did that start?
Well, I believe, well, I didn't start by metal per se. Well, the first recollections I have is watching sort of like the Portuguese Top of the Pops. There was a program that used to,
Uh,
feature videos video clips from bands, and I remember the first time I saw Guns N' Roses at that tribute show for Freddie Mercury.
oh yeah.
One of the first recollections I have of a heavy song is that. But it got me thinking, because one of these days I was thinking, God, I saw Spinal Tap once, and that movie, for me, I thought it was a real band. I thought metal was all about that. I thought, at the time I didn't know this is
Right.
1984 or something like that. So I was too young. I saw that thing and I said, whoa, metal is really cool. So maybe my metal, influence is coming from that. I don't know. Maybe from Spinal Tap. Thank you,
It's
Spinal
from
Tap, for that.
turning it up to 11.
Yeah, turning it up to 11, right? Yeah, that was kind of cool, and seeing the guys live, and they were inside those cocoons, and the bass player one didn't open. They had to come in, and all those problems they had with the drummers, because the drummer seems to disappear or die in mysterious circumstances.
Right.
It's
Right.
like some X-Files thing or something. I don't know, but it was cool. It was actually really really cool, and that kind of pushed me towards finding out about bands. Maybe the first one would be Guns N' Roses, then probably Megadeth by the time of Countdown to Extinction. That really got to me at the time.
Nice.
Also, also Sepultura.
Oh yeah.
Sepultura, yeah, around the time of Arise.
Yeah.
Actually,
Arise.
yeah. The first release I had with me it wasn't mine. A friend borrowed me a CD. Was how does it call? Third World Posse. It's an EP, and it's got a Dead Kennedys cover, "Drug Me." It's a fantastic record. I love that, and
Yeah.
it's got a live version of Orgasmatron by Motorhead. So
Yeah.
I remember that one pretty well. It was the first release. Then it was Arise. Then Chaos AD. Yes, I had that. No, that was the time between 92 and 94, 95. I would say that was when I, started to, branch out and explore the metal world,
Nice.
Also Napalm Death. Napalm
Yeah.
Death. I used to watch repeatedly their concert from I think that was from not Utopia Banished tour. It was before that. It was what's it called? I don't know, but it was still featuring Mick Harris on drums. So
Okay.
Mick or Mitch. I
Yeah.
think no. There's a Mitch on guitar.
Yeah.
He's still a member of the band, although he doesn't play live. But he's still a member of the band. I think up to this day. He just records in the studio. He just records with them. Doesn't play live, because I actually saw a few years ago. I saw Napalm Death live here in Porto, and
Nice.
it was another guitar player. It was cool as hell, because it was that kind of band that when I thought I was cursed, because they have been here for a number of times that for one reason or another I could never make it to see them.
Oh man. Yeah.
Once there was going to be a concert by them, but it was canceled because they said that the structure of the place of the concert hall would not handle the volume, and it could come down literally. I'm not, and I said, well, okay. Another time they were playing near Porto in Braga, which is about 30, 40 kilometers from here. I don't know how much miles, but many miles, but okay. And they were playing there, and I actually got an invite. A friend of mine got me an invite.
Nice.
Actually two. And I didn't own a car at the time. So we arranged, I talked to a friend of mine and said, well, you want to see them? Sure. And on the day, he canceled. And I said, yeah, I couldn't see them. So that was two. One of other times, I think it was 3 or 4 times that I missed him. And I don't know, I actually can't remember the actual reasons, but then I said, man, I got to see this guy.
What's going on here?
And then, what's going on here? I got to see them. And then a couple of, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years ago, they were here on tour, and I got to see them. And it was great. It was
awesome.
It was fantastic. It was Barney on stage is like a, what's it called? An electric monkey. He has an expression because he looks like
and he's
always on stage.
He's always moving, like constantly.
Yeah, he's always moving around. It's kind of to compensate the other guys. They don't move, so he's got to move for them, right?
That's right.
But it was pretty intense. It was a cool concert, and also I got to see Obituary a few years ago, and Obituary is one of my favorite bands. I still own the CD, The Slowly We Rot, the first release.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love that record.
What was the second album? The Incomplete? Is that it?
No, it's Cause of Death with James Murphy on guitar, the guitar player, the guitar virtuoso that has played with Cancer, played with Testament also.
Yes. Yep.
That the second one was with James Murphy, and then on the third, The Incomplete. Alan West, I'm saying, is it Alan West?
I think so.
To the Fold.
Yeah.
When I saw them. When I saw them, I practically couldn't hear the other guitar player. I just heard Trevor Perez because I was so close to the monitor. I was just so close to his monitor that I just heard his guitar. Yeah, but that's fine with me because his guitar is the backbone of the sound of the band.
That's right.
I was hearing what's important, and he actually there's a time I was with a friend of mine right next to me, and he was playing, and from one minute to the other, he just handed out a pick, and I just snagged it. And my friend said, "Yeah, you bastard! It was for me." No, it wasn't. I'm here too.
That's right.
So I snagged a pick from from him. I have it stored somewhere, but I have it along with my tickets and other
That's awesome.
memorabilia, concert memorabilia.
Oh
I have
man.
that.
Do you keep
Yeah,
it all? Do you keep it all together so you can actually like find that stuff? Because I just have like a bag full of tickets. I don't. And then the pics are all. I got like this little
yeah.
dish. They're all mixed
Well,
in there. I have no
they're all
idea.
in there. I don't know. I keep it in envelopes, together with the tickets, and I keep them. But I don't have. No, I'm not too organized about it. No, no, because I have part of my collection is here at my house,
Yeah.
okay. But I have a substantial amount of records and CDs at my mother's house because I never, when I moved with my wife, I didn't bother to bring that old stuff with me because my wife would kill me. She still does. She sometimes says, "What is this? I didn't see this release here. This record
Yeah.
it wasn't here last week. What is this, man?" And I said, "Oh, man, don't." It's hard for it's hard to explain to a person that doesn't own physical media what
Oh,
physical media is about, or
I love records, man. I just
yeah,
I
I
kept
do
the ones
too.
I had, and I've
Yeah,
had them ever since, right? And I just been
yeah.
adding more
I
and
think
more.
I still have what I have. I have the original Countdown to Extinction
Oh,
that I had.
yeah,
I have Symbolic by Death.
nice.
I have Demanufactured by Fear Factory.
Oh, on vinyl?
Uh, Sorry?
Vinyl?
No, 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 no. CD.
CD. Okay. Okay. Yeah,
CD.
yeah,
At the time when I was, when I was starting
yeah. It was
collecting,
CDs.
vinyl
Yeah,
wasn't such a thing. Vinyl
yeah,
was, if anything, it was disappearing.
yeah,
And after, I don't know, maybe probably we were talking about it the other day, maybe with these kind of events like Record Store Day and stuff like that, vinyl made a comeback.
yeah. It did.
Not always for the best reasons, I believe. Well, I don't know. Me as a collector, I like Record Store Day because it presents something unique
Yeah,
sometimes, right?
yeah,
We were
yeah,
talking about it the other day, as I told you, and I bought it. Actually, I bought it online. I bought the Thin Lizzy release,
Oh,
the
okay.
jailbreak record. You know what
Yeah,
it is? The
yeah,
one with the alternative cover and the supposedly original set list of the record.
yeah.
And I have all that because I bought the box. I don't have it here with me, but I bought the Thin Lizzy box, the one that has,
Box set.
I think, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a box set. I only brought this visual aid to me today.
Oh yeah,
To
the
be here
UFO.
with me.
Awesome.
You remember we talked
Yeah,
about this the other day. You were listening
yeah,
to UFO, and I said I gotta show him this because I have this
yeah.
and I have the vinyl edition. Sometimes I just have to buy them all. It's like the going back to Napalm Death. I don't know what it is about that record, but I do love Utopia Banished release.
Yeah,
The first one with Danny Herrera on the drums after Mick left the band, and I have it on normal CD. I have an UK release that brings a 3-inch CD, one of those smaller ones
oh
with
yeah,
only 3 songs. You know what that is? I
yeah.
have that too. Uh, I've been longing for that for years, man, years. I remember being I was younger now, younger than I am now, much younger. And I remember, that a friend of mine had that release, and I said, well, one day I'll have it. And
But
now, thank God for Discogs, right? But
right,
it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap because one thing that bugs me, the hell out of me with Discogs is the guys that that are only preoccupied with snagging releases just so they can make a buck.
oh right, right, right.
Everybody has to. I'm not criticizing anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
If one
But
day I have to sell this, I don't I'm not going to sell. Okay, this is just a
right.
joke. This is just an exercise.
Yeah,
But if I had to sell this one day, I wouldn't like to lose money on it. No, I
no,
wouldn't.
no, no.
Because for me this is special. Okay, but I wouldn't charge anybody $250 for this or something like that.
Yeah,
You can put in 10% or 20% even and still make a buck. Don't lose your money. And go
right.
for other things. You can buy other things. You don't need to. I
Yeah.
feel there's no need for that, and that's the perverse side of Record Store Day for me because sometimes people tend to,
Oh yeah,
oh
it's
yeah,
about the money.
yeah,
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 it's
it's about
about
the money and it's
yeah,
all about the hype sticker that says first time on orange gray vinyl, the radiant green, what the
I
hell
know.
is that? I don't even care. Make my vinyl black. That's what I want. I want it black, and that's enough. That's enough for me. No
Yeah.
need to sugarcoat it. That's
Yeah.
so frustrating for me. And because we were talking about it, and I realized here in Portugal we are in advantage because of the time zone. So for us, record store day starts earlier,
Oh, that's right.
a couple many hours earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm not one to stand in line and wait. No, I have a
No, no.
I have
I
a
got
friend of mine that I have a friend at a record store, and if I need anything, I'll just say for it to keep it for me, and I'll go and get it
yeah.
because
Yeah.
as I was telling, I bought the Thin Lizzy release. It's being shipped from France. Should be here in a couple of days. I don't know. And I
Nice.
also bought outside of metal the Warren Zevon release.
All right.
I don't know if you know that, but because I'm kind of a left field guy. I enjoy I enjoy as much Duran Duran as I do Napalm Death. Okay, so I'm kind of an eclectic dude now, right? When I was younger, I had that Manowar attitude. If you're not into metal, you are not my friend. But that was kind of that happily and luckily it passed, because
Yeah.
now
I,
I can. Yeah, sorry,
I
I'm
think.
monopolizing the conversations.
Well, I was going to say, I think
Yeah.
that all of us go through that a little bit, when we're younger, as
Yeah,
far as
sure. It's part of
getting
growing
into
up.
like,
Sure.
yeah, yeah, we're just like, if you're not listening to Maiden and Priest or whatever, then
Whatever.
yeah. And it's
Yeah,
hard to
you're
get
not my
out of that
friend.
that that feeling of like, oh, you listen to like so probably it's an example for me. Somebody says
Yeah.
they listen to metal and then they say they listen to Five Finger Death Punch. I'm like, God, no. But whatever, or people that like Ghost. I'm like, I fucking hate Ghost, but I get it. A lot of people love it and think
Listen
it's great.
to an interesting band like Electric. What's it called? No, it's not Electric Light Orchestra. What's the name of that band? Oh, there's a Swedish band that's really interesting. The name escaped me right now.
Oh, is it?
And it's in that vein of Ghost, but not so preachy. Can I say that? So not
Yeah, yeah.
so because I had the first record by Ghost. It was a perfect. I believe it was a perfect mixture between Iron Maiden and King Diamond,
Uh,
sort of that sweet spot. Okay, but then it got tiresome, and I sold it. I eventually sold it. I'm not dissing the band. They
yeah,
are. I feel that some bands kind of start being fashionable, and I don't know. I don't really know why.
yeah, yeah. And
It just happens,
that's all
Uh,
good. It doesn't really
yeah,
matter
it's
to
all
me
good.
because there's music that I don't dig. That's totally fine.
But
But
that's fine because a lot of people say you don't like that. You don't like music. You don't
yeah,
like good music. That's
yeah,
please, man. You
yeah,
listen to what you have to listen. I listen to what I'll have to listen, and we all can live in peace. That's
exactly.
because there are so many bands. If that wasn't true, there will only be one band. Everybody would hear the same thing, right? That's it.
That's right. It would be we would all be listening to Slayer. That would be it.
Yeah, yeah. We will all listen to Slayer. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. In a
Yeah,
perfect
but
world.
yeah, in a
Yeah.
perfect world, we would all
Yeah.
be
You
Slayer
go to the
fans.
mall and war
Yeah,
ensembles on, you're like, okay, everything's
yeah.
good.
Okay, okay. Uh, you feel
Yeah.
lucky. One of these days, I was reviewing. I was watching again Gremlins 2,
Huh?
and they have a song in there. They feature a song. I don't believe. I believe it's War Ensemble. No, it's not War Ensemble. But it's there's a song from Slayer in there. When
Oh, really?
I don't know if you know the movie, when the spider gremlin appears to catch the girl, the song that's on on the background it's Slayer. Hey, god
Slayer.
damn it, man! I said, "Oh, cool, it's cool." At the time, I didn't realize that, so now I know. I know I
Yeah.
heard Slayer before I knew what Slayer was, so that's kind of cool.
Well, it's like
That's kind of
what was
cool.
it? Ace Ventura with the
Yeah,
first Ace
yeah.
Ventura with the
Cannibal
cannibal
Corpse.
corpses. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I read an interview or I saw a video on him on YouTube or something like that. No, I saw an interview of Chris Barnes, the former lead singer. Okay,
Yeah.
and he was saying that originally he wanted Napalm Death for the
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah, he wanted
That would have been
Napalm Death,
awesome.
but Napalm Death were, I don't know if they were unwilling or they just couldn't do it, but
Yeah.
they declined the invitation, and so he invited Cannibal Corpse instead, which is fine because I
Yeah.
love Cannibal Corpse as well, so no problem there. And I do like watching Jim Carrey doing some, some slam
Slang
dancing and
dancing. Yeah.
just being pushed around, and
Right.
he's like a fish out of water. But okay, he's hanging in there,
That's right.
just like
That's right.
when you bring a friend to a concert and you don't know what to expect, right? It's the same thing.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, sometimes we get this, because for instance, I talking about movies and knowing songs. For instance, the Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Oh yeah.
I first heard Bob Seger there, so and now I love Bob
Oh
Seger.
yeah.
What you gonna do, right? Now,
He's from my home state. Right,
yeah.
actually, right
Oh,
where I'm
cool.
at, Ann Arbor. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. Yeah, I really do. I love a lots and lots of his releases. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I first heard of him on the Beverly Hills Cop movie. I believe the second one. The intro song
Oh
is from, yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and that was one of my, my upbringing. Listening to songs. I remember being very young. Just to come back to the time when I started hearing heavy music or something, and I remember hearing on and the radio, "Still Loving You" by Scorpions,
Oh.
and then I just and I thought that they were a ballad band, So, but my
Yeah.
father, luckily, he had a record. He had what was the name of the record? It had "Rock You Like a Hurricane." Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
"Sting of the Tail." I think no, not "Sting of the Tail." Now the name
Uh.
escapes me, but
Yeah. I can't think of it.
whatever. It features this girl and in the cover, so it's one of those that features a girl on the
I
cover,
think
and
I think that's the album after Blackout, maybe, or two
yeah,
albums
it
after
is after
Blackout.
Blackout.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blackout, definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I remember hearing that song, and then my father, luckily, he had a CD, and well, there's more to this band than just ballads. They
Yeah.
can rock out when they want to, and they
Yeah.
can be pretty impressive. And then I discovered the Uli John Roth phase from the '70s, and when I was in love
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's a completely different band actually,
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
they managed. That's what I admire about them, because they were always able to reinvent themselves, right?
Yeah.
They were a '70s bluesy, kind of psychedelic band, and they started getting heavy. It's a lot like UFO. UFO was like that.
Yep.
UFO was the
UFO.
psychedelic band at the
Judas
beginning.
Priest
Right?
was that way.
Judas Priest, yeah. Judas Priest started out like that, and then they evolved.
Yeah.
They evolved into what we
Yeah.
know right now, right? What we
Right.
know actually. Yeah. So
The only
that's
the
kind of
only
curious.
exception there is Black
Yeah,
Sabbath, who are always awesome all the time.
yeah, yeah. I recently bought their latest releases, their later releases,
Oh,
the
like with
Eternal
Dio?
Idol. No,
Oh,
after the Dio phase with Tony Martin. I bought
yeah.
the discography with Tony Martin.
Yeah.
I bought Forbidden, Cross of Purposes, Tear, and what's the other one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
That's
remember now.
yeah, that's
Uh,
so
but it's
that's
Tear.
a tough listen. I got to be
Yeah,
honest because
it's different. It's a
yeah,
different band. It's a completely
I
different.
saw them back then and I was like,
Yeah,
because I never saw, well, I did see Black Sabbath like when they reformed. Um,
yeah,
but I got into Black Sabbath with the Ozzy era, then saw
yeah.
Dio,
Sure. Yeah.
with
Hmm.
them, and then saw the reunion. And then I saw Tony Martin once, and that was like,
Yeah.
that was, that was tough. That was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
Um,
just, he was not on top of his game,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was
He's
not
had
good.
some health issues or something, right?
I think
I
so.
read
Yeah.
something about it, that he
Yeah.
had some pretty serious health issues that affected his performance,
Yeah.
basically. But
Are you
it's
gonna go?
always tough.
Are you gonna go up to
So
Birmingham for that show with
no,
Black
no, no,
Sabbath?
no, 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 no. A friend of mine actually talked to me about it, and I
Yeah.
said, "Nah, I'm not going." I'm not going. No. Actually, I'll be missing out on because I'm into a lot of prog rock. So one of my favorite drummers is Bill Buford from Yes, King
Yeah.
Crimson, Genesis, and the like. And actually, I like his solo stuff as well, more jazzy, but
Yep.
still I do. Actually, now I'm more. I can pretty much say that I'm listening more to jazz than I am of metal. I'm a little picky on my metal.
Yeah.
But returning to Black Sabbath, the first full release I had, the most paranoid, and it blew my mind. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that cover also mystified me. The guy was with a
Oh yeah.
helmet running like with a what is that? A sword? That is a
Yeah, he's got a
saber?
sword. Yeah.
Kind of is it a Star Wars fan or something? I don't know. It couldn't be because Star Wars came after, so it
That's
wasn't.
right.
Maybe George Lucas was looking out for for images, and
Right.
since he basically ripped off an Akira Kurosawa movie for doing that, the Hidden Fortress release. So that's the kind of movie courier now, just
Right,
talking
right.
about it, going a little bit off topic. And yeah, but just to prove that we can talk about other things other than
That
music, right?
yeah. Well, they all kind of dovetail together, right? So you've got great
Yeah,
music in
yeah,
movies. You've got
yeah,
either books that are related to or inspired from or inspire music,
sure.
right? So all those art forms kind of dovetail together. It all flows well. So
Yeah, you take the Rush guy, Neil Peart, for instance. He was
oh
a
yeah.
writer.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
He was a writer, right?
Yeah.
He knew he write novels, and then they would adapt them to songs. Sometimes, yeah, those long songs, 2112, those kind of probably more on the 70s releases.
Yeah.
Caress of
Hemispheres,
Steel,
Rest of Steel.
Hemispheres, the Caress of Steel. All those releases, that they're kind of thematically linked, and there are stories in there. And if you read the lyrics, you can
Yeah.
it's pure writing ability. So
Yeah.
he's the kind of guy that he was. That's why he was the professor, right? He was known as the professor, right?
Did you ever
Because he
get to
was
see?
a
Did
professor.
you ever see
No,
Rush?
no,
Oh,
no. Actually, just before they ended, they, their
the
last
40th?
tour,
Yeah.
yeah, they were in London, and
Oh,
I don't know if it was Wembley Arena or something like that. And I spoke to my wife about it, about the possibility of going, but then work wasn't,
yeah.
I couldn't get the days off to do it because I believe it was a weekday, maybe a Wednesday.
Oh,
I don't know. It
yeah.
was a weekday, so it was not that simple for me just to pick up and go, right?
Right.
Yeah, but now I regret it because I had a chance that I will never have in my life. So
Oh,
that's what it is. No, some bands I don't get to see. I was fortunate enough. You were talking about Dio previously, and I got to see him live many years ago
nice.
with his solo band.
Yeah.
I believe it was the Magica tour, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Like
Yeah,
Craig Goldie on guitar, probably.
it was Craig Goldie on guitar and Jay Shellen on keyboards and something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the bass player was Chuck Wright, I believe. I don't know who the drummer was. Now it escapes me. Maybe Simon Phillips, the guy who
Oh,
played in ACDC. He also played
yep.
on ACDC on a
Yeah.
couple of ACDC releases,
Yeah.
mainly in the 80s.
Was it?
Uh,
When did it? I think Carmen Appice played with him.
Apathy.
Yeah. But I don't know if it
Cameron
was then.
Apathy. No, he played with Ozzy. I believe
Yeah.
he played with Ozzy. Yeah,
I
with
thought he
Ozzy's
played
band.
it. Well, I know he played on the early Dio albums.
Carmen Apathy.
Yeah.
No, it was Vinny Apathy, the brother.
Vinny, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
it was
Vinny.
Vinny. It was
Yeah.
Vinny. It was Vinny. Vinny. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Vinny. Not
Vinny.
not
Yeah.
Carmine.
Not
It was
Carmen.
Vinny.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
No,
was an
so all
apathy
right. So
anyway. So
then there was a band called White Lion, kind of the
yeah,
80s. Where
yeah,
did was it
I know.
Carmen in that one? Or was that Vinny too? One of the Appices was in that band.
In White
That's
Line,
yeah,
I
that first
believe
White
that
Lion.
the first White Lion record. Well, I'm not sure about that. I only know that Jimmy DeGrasso played in them, and he played in Megadeth also, along
Oh,
the
maybe I'm thinking of
on the
King
risk
Cobra.
release or something.
Now I'm gonna have to go back and look after we get done talking because I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
gonna
because
drive me
sometimes that
crazy.
bugs me. Driving me crazy too. So we're alike. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it can the ideas don't come out, it's the first time I'm doing this, so for me it's kind of nerve wracking, Just trying to focus on my English, my
Right. Well, dude, at least I mean, props because I cannot speak any other language. I tried to learn.
Hmm,
We went to
yeah,
Italy a couple years. I tried to learn some Italian so that I wasn't a complete, American. I
Yeah,
tried
yeah,
to learn a little German for last year for when we went to
yeah,
Germany. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, I
You'll be
can't
going
speak
to
fluently.
Ireland, right? In May.
Yeah, they speak English there, although Gaelic as well. But
Yeah, yeah.
so
No, I saw your note about it. You posted a little picture of the Gaelic symbols or mythology or
yeah,
something, and saying you're going there. Cool. I would
yeah,
love
yeah.
to go there.
Next week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. I hope everything goes well.
it
Uh,
will be. It'll be awesome.
yeah, sure. No, but for myself, speaking for myself, ever since I started, learning English, for me, it was very easy. It was very natural.
Ah,
To the point where one of my teachers wanted me to further my studies, then go to a special school or something like that.
right.
And then in college, I had another teacher that asked me, "What are you going to do?" Well, yeah, the question, the quintessential question. Well,
Yeah.
what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I don't know. I just don't know. And he said, "But well, you could go through to an English school and
Oh, right. Yeah.
learn more or something, because I've always been, at least I think so. I don't know if you can tell me if I'm speaking correctly, if
Oh, yeah. You,
it's the discourse is flowing.
yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'm like the guy in American Pie. I can say words like verisimilitude, copious, just
Oh man.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's that. So for me, it was never a problem. I always had good grades at English. So Italian, I try to, but there's some words that I do learn, but it's difficult. German, no. German's only Dankeschön.
Yeah.
Or I can ask him to speak English. English bitte, right?
Yeah.
That's a good expression, just like that. But German itself, no. For me,
Yeah.
that's always been extremely difficult. Extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're in Portugal, where it's something that I don't understand, because we are near to next to Spain, right?
Right.
And we can understand Spanish people perfectly when they speak. But if I'm speaking to them in my normal,
Yeah.
Portuguese language, they don't understand. They just don't. You know? I don't know. I don't know what it is. And I work for a Spanish company. Okay,
Yeah.
I work at a tour operator that is their head office is in Spain, so we have to speak many times in Spanish. So,
Yeah.
um, but still, I believe I'm a better English speaker than I am a Spanish speaker. So it's
Wow.
kind of it's kind of that. Although political things aside, it's like the difference between Russian and Ukrainian. Okay, there are a lot of points of similarity, but there are a lot of things that are different. I'm not going
Yeah.
into the war and stuff like that. I'm just going
Yeah.
to,
Talking about the
yeah, because
language. Yeah.
yeah, just the language. I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not going in there in that rabbit hole. Never,
Right.
never. That's kind of,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
something that doesn't. There are no words to describe that. But okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we always have our music, right? So
That's right, man. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah,
I was curious, like
yeah,
what I know you went to that carcass show and you got to meet with
yeah.
the mighty Bill
Yeah,
Steer.
man. Yeah, I got to meet him, but it was so awkward for me. I couldn't speak. I couldn't articulate two words. I just said "good show," and I turned my back and went away. And he was an extremely humble guy. He was a humble guy. You could see
Yeah.
that. He
Yeah.
was he was happy, because sometimes when you meet someone of these so-called superstars, oh, okay, just another one,
Yeah.
because like when I got I have an autograph of Yngwie Malmsteen, and he's notorious for being a nasty
Right.
character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just lucky enough, because a guy, many years ago, there used to be these Oxford encyclopedias about music, these
Yeah.
really big things, clunky things, and it has all sorts of bands and their bio and stuff. And there was a guy that was there and he opened it on the page where
Right.
Ingve was, and I just slipped my ticket in on top of that, and he just signed it, and I'm going away, man. that was kind of, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got my autograph. I can go now. Many years ago, I got to see him, and but for Carcass, and yeah, man, he's one of my idols. What can I say? I can say
Yeah.
anything else. Okay, good show, just
Yeah.
fine. And
I
he took a
know.
picture with me that was gracious. So I
Yeah,
know,
that was awesome. Yeah, because
yeah,
a lot of times,
uh,
they won't. There's like I got too many. There's other people there, and it's like,
yeah.
oh, I don't want to do that. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
He was
yeah,
real
yeah.
cool.
You get that sense, yeah. And
Yeah.
one time I was going to see what the Swiss band Young Gods. You know
Oh
of
yeah.
them?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Young Gods. Okay, so you know that when we see the guys, they're always in these pictures. They're all fine and dandy and young. You know, they passed right through me, and I didn't recognize them. I only recognized them when they were on stage. You know, but
Oh
before
really?
the show, they passed in front of me. The guys, the three guys, they passed. You know, and I said, well, kind of a roadie, probably a roadie. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
but it was the guy that I said, oh man. And once this was many years ago, I believe in 96. I believe it was 1996 or 1997. I can't be sure, but it was around that time. And I was getting into prog, Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I went to see Yes on the Leather tour. Yeah, the Leather.
Nice.
And I was before the show. I was I was waiting for the time. I was in one of those record stores that used to
Yeah.
there were a lot of them back then.
Yeah.
And I was there and I saw this huge dude, man, this huge dude at my side, and I said, where do I know you from? I know you from somewhere. I can't place your face, but I'm not gonna talk to you. And it was the bass player. It
Oh,
was the
oh,
bass
Chris
player.
Squire?
Yeah, Chris Squire. It was Chris
Oh
Squire. And I
man.
only recognized him on stage when I was, and I said, "Oh man, I was next to him. I could talk to him. There was no one around. Nobody else. I could talk to him. I had it all to myself, and I couldn't.
Oh
I just said,
man. I love
because
Chris
it
Squire. So
yeah,
awesome.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an awesome musician. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
But and I said, "Oh man, I was so dumb. What? I'm so dumb."
Well,
Because then I
half the
said,
time, if I ever meet anybody that I am,
"Yeah,
even remotely admire their musical,
yeah,
whatever they are, and not just music, but half the time I'm tongue tied. I don't know what to say other than, oh man, good
yeah,
show, or oh, it's
that's
nice to
me."
meet you, or I'm a big
Yeah,
fan. And like, yeah,
yeah. Just
just
that, just that, nothing else.
yeah.
A couple of years ago, we had a concert near Porto. It was a free concert, and Ugly Kid Joe was playing there.
Oh yeah,
and
I remember
uh,
those
and
guys.
yeah, yeah, I do too. And I kind of persuaded my wife to come with me. She doesn't like heavy music, but okay, she'll
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Just for the party side, for the fun side, she'll go. She'll play
yeah.
along. And we went to the and we actually stayed in the same hotel they were. And there was this point when I checked in. We went to our room, we unpacked the stuff that we had, and then we came down to the reception, and Whitfield Crane passes by, and I say to my wife, "That's Whitfield Crane." And my wife goes, "Why don't you go talk to him?" Uh, I don't want to. I can't. And I just saw, and he looked at me and he smiled, or a little
Yeah.
smirk. And I and I just looked at him and he went into the elevator, the doors closed. Okay, bye.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I
done.
never saw him again. I just saw him on the show, but I saw the show. It was a great show. It was a great show to see. And I
That's
said to my
hilarious.
wife, well, maybe tomorrow morning they'll be at breakfast. I still have but they weren't, because they had to leave at 4 in the morning or something, because the next day they were playing
Next day,
Barcelona, so
yeah,
they had to leave. They had to
yeah,
leave, or Barcelona or Madrid. I can't, I'm
right,
not sure, but one of those places. They had to go abroad. They had to go to Spain to
yeah,
play on the next day, so they didn't stay very long. And I said, "Damn it, I lost my chance, man. To be with Whitfield."
yeah. Well,
And
I think I told you, or I mentioned that when I saw
hmm,
Carcass 10 years ago, they were
yeah,
playing in Pontiac, Michigan, and I got there
yeah,
early to get like just a beer or something at a little bar that's next door to the venue, and
sure, yeah,
those guys are all sitting in there.
yeah,
Bill, Jeff,
yeah,
they're all just sitting
yeah,
down having some
yeah.
some food, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
I looked over, I'm like, there they are, but I was like, I was tongue tied.
I get
I
you,
was like,
man.
what am I
I
going to
get
say to
you.
them? Right?
I get you. I get you. We can't say anything other than just like those guys in the movies. The we're not worthy. We're not worthy, right?
Yeah.
The one with Mike Myers and the other guy. I don't. Wayne's World. Wayne's World.
Wayne's
That's
World.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wayne's World, right? We're not worthy. We're not worthy. Yeah, that's kind of the because when I saw. It's curious that you mentioned that, because when I saw Helmet a couple of years ago, Page Hamilton. It was the first time that I saw this. Page Hamilton played the last chord. He hanged his guitar on the stand. He got down and he started talking to people. He started
Oh
talking to us.
man.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
He just
awesome.
started talking to us. He said he started inviting people to go and have a drink because nearby there were some bars, there were some pubs
That's awesome.
nearby the venue. And he said the only rule is don't talk about music and don't talk about girls. The rest we can talk about. Okay, that was fine.
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
incidentally, I don't know if you're a follower or a subscriber of Roddy Button from Fate No More
No,
here
I'm
on
not.
Substack.
No,
No,
didn't even,
yeah,
yeah. Didn't even
yeah.
know he was
I
on
was.
here.
Yeah. He's here, and I was. How did I know this? I knew this because I read on Metal Storm, the website. I believe it was Metal Storm. I read some little snippet of text that said he's on Substack. He's on Substack. Okay, I'll open my
Yeah,
computer on Substack. I'll go subscribe, and I sent
right,
him a message. You know, I sent him a message just saying that I love his keyboard playing. I think he's an integral part of the whole
right.
Fate No More sound and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And he was gracious enough. He replied. He said, "Thank you for your words." But here on Substack, I'm focusing on my writing. And I said, "Okay, no problem. Thank you for
yeah.
thank you for reaching out. Just
Wow.
yeah, I've reached out to a number of celebrities, so we say. Some of
Yeah,
them write, some of them don't. I've Ricky Lee Jones, the singer songwriter. You know of
yeah,
her?
yeah.
She was gracious enough to I sent her just a small message saying that she was kind of like the link between the Kate Bush, the experimentalism of Kate Bush, and the singer songwriters of
Right.
later like Tori Amos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she thanked me. She was very gracious. She thanked me. She said it was a very insightful thing to say, right?
Right. Right.
I'm a guy, I'm not just carcass or napalm death.
Yeah.
I do enjoy other things, right? And she was gracious enough to reply, and I've spoken quite a few times to him. Josh Hayden, he's the son of the late Charlie Hayden, the bass player, the jazz bass player.
Oh,
And yeah, and I've mentioned him because his father recorded an album with a Portuguese guitar player, with Carlos Paredes.
oh,
Yeah, one of the premium guitar players in Portugal. He's dead now, but at the time, maybe in 1991, I believe, he did an album with him. And I mentioned that he said, "Hey, Josh,
yeah.
do you know the?" Yes, yeah, and he was gracious enough. He replied, and he said that he had pictures of them two at a coffee shop or something. So it was very cool.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, the other one was Alex Skolnick from Testament, but I never heard back from him.
Yeah.
He's
I
also in
knew he was
Greece.
on Substack. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Substack. I wrote him a message, but he never got back. Doesn't have the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Recording,
I think
recording musician.
he's a pretty private dude. I
Yeah,
think too. You
I
know.
believe so.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
No, I'm not dissing. I'm not
Oh
dissing. It
yeah. No.
doesn't
No.
have to.
No. Yeah.
I'm not
But
dissing.
yeah,
I'm just
just
saying.
yeah. Some people
Yeah,
just don't. They're
yeah.
it's just not their thing.
It's
Uh,
totally
I
cool. Totally
I
cool.
did an interview with Chuck Billy, and that dude, he just like
Yeah,
talk, right? He was just
yeah.
like, yeah,
He
tell me
must be a
everything.
cool dude, right?
Yeah, yeah. But
I saw
like,
Testament a few years ago. I saw Testament live here in Porto, and it was a cool concert. They were opening for another band
oh,
that I'm not much into. I'm on a Marth.
oh yeah,
I'm not,
Eh,
I'm
it's
not into
okay.
that. So
Yeah,
yeah. So I kind of, I just dig Testament, and then I said to a friend
yeah.
of mine, "Well, I'm going away. You are not saying I'm on a Marth? No, I'm not."
No,
Sometimes, well, I call it's a low cost concert for me. Or
yeah,
better yet, it's not low cost. It's a high cost because I'm only going to see the
right. You're
opening
only
act.
going to
Right?
yeah, but you get home early,
Yeah,
right? So then you're like,
yeah.
oh, yeah,
Actually, a few years ago, I went to see one of my drumming idols, Pete Sandoval, former Morbid Angel, and I
yeah,
went to see them. I went to see Terrorizer, his other project,
yeah.
and the Terrorizer was opening for Nile, and I don't like Nile. So I just can't
It's
get
just
through,
not for
man.
you. Yeah,
No, not for me. And I love Egypt mythology. I love the whole, that whole,
yeah.
the
The concepts
pyramids,
of it.
the
Yep.
conspiracy. I love that. I dig that thing. I dig, but I just don't dig that band. But
Yeah.
for me, for my ears, the solos were all the same. I know that he has lots of YouTube videos. The drummer George Collias, he
Yeah.
has lots of instructional videos and stuff like that. He just did the same break over and over again in every song. It was the same break. For me,
Right.
it was just the same break. But so I just saw them once and I said, no, never again. So it was Terrorizer and Nile. And once Terrorizer was gone, I turned to a friend and I said, well, see
I'll
you
see
next.
ya.
What? Okay, bye. Yeah, you're not gonna see Nile. And no, I'm not, man. No, no chance. No chance of that. In hell, I'm gonna see Nile again. And I don't know. I saw Nile opening for something that I don't know what it was.
Oh,
But I definitely saw Nile opening for another band. Yeah, I got
I
to see
can.
some bands. I was fortunate enough because nowadays it's more difficult for bands to come to Portugal. Even to Spain, it's sometimes difficult. But
Really?
there was a time when I saw, yeah, because the promoters don't
Hey.
want to invest money in it, and because it's kind of, and many a times when they come is to Lisbon. It's a capital city, okay, and
Yeah.
that for me it's not impossible. It's 300 kilometers away, which
That's
is
a
about what,
ways.
600 miles.
Yeah. That's a
600
long
miles, I
way.
don't know how many miles, but
Yeah.
it's, we have trains, we have ways to get there. I have my own car, I could go, and the returning part is complicated, but okay.
Yeah.
I think I could handle that, but
Yeah.
it has to be, but for a very important artist. I
Uh,
didn't get to see Winger, and I love Winger, and
You love
they went to
Winger?
Lisbon. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I actually do.
Really?
Sorry, but my
That's okay,
favorite
man.
release
That's
is,
okay.
yeah. But my favorite release is Pool. It's not the one in the Heart of the Young or the first world release. I like them without the glitter, without the Bow Hill interference.
Yeah.
Is because many years ago there was a demo. I think it's called Winger Demos. Just that,
Yeah.
no fancy title,
Is
and
Red
it was
Beach
all
still
the
in that band?
songs. Yeah,
Is
yeah,
he?
yes, he
Oh,
is. Yeah, yeah. And so what I was saying is the demo anthology. I think it was called like that, original,
uh,
original title, and it was basically, it featured all the songs or many of the songs on either In the Heart of the Young and in the first record, which is unofficially called Sahara, but it's called also self-titled release. Although there's Sahara written on the bottom of
yeah.
the vinyl artwork, it's better to see than to see this in the CD. But okay, that's another thing. I digress. And yeah, I just digressed a little bit. And it was basically all the songs stripped away of the Bow Hill production. So there was no keyboards, there was no reverb, no none of that. It was just the band rocking out, and
Yes.
it kind of blew me away, and it
Ah,
put things in a different perspective for me. And
all right.
their third release, Pool, is a completely different beast. There's no keyboards. The Paul Taylor is not in the band. Was not in the band at the time. He now, I think he returned. Now he's
Uh,
in the fold. But so it's Winger, Reb Beach, and Rod Morgenstein on drums. Yeah, the guy
yeah.
from Dixie Dread,
I
great
have a
drummer.
I have a guitar that Red Beach played.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. I
Cool.
it used to have the signature on it, but wore off.
he
Yeah.
seems he seems like a cool dude. I saw some
Yeah.
interviews of
I
him.
went
Yeah,
to a like back when Winger first started, he did a
yeah,
guitar clinic
Guitar Clinic. Yeah,
here in Michigan, and
yeah,
he was playing Ibanez 540. It's the same kind of guitar that Alex Skolnick played originally.
yeah,
Um, and so he was playing that through this Marshall a JCM 900, and
yeah,
I that then they ended up selling that stuff for like cheap.
yeah,
So I bought
yeah,
the guitar and the amp. I had both of the things, but they were just played, things he played during
yeah,
that thing. Yeah, I
yeah.
always thought he was a great guitar player. I just didn't care for Kip Winger.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I get it.
Yeah,
Because is playing is deceptively simple. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not that simple to play those riffs and those twists and turns that he does. It's not that
yeah,
simple,
yeah, yeah,
And his tapping is over the world. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
uh, right after Eddie Van Halen, which was the one that established it.
yeah.
There was Vito Bratta from White Lion, which was a
Yep.
phenomenal player
Yeah.
also, and Reb Beach. And the guy from I believe from Autograph. Am I saying this correctly?
Oh,
The
autograph.
early
Yeah,
80s band. You
yeah,
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Those dudes that used to open for Van Halen, and the guy
Yeah.
couldn't use tapping because that was Van Halen's thing,
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen's thing. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
lore now. This
Yeah.
video is turning into a cultural thing now, right?
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
yeah, a lot of people are gonna learn so many things from us right now, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I was fortunate enough to take a picture with Steve Hackett, the one of the guys that probably invented tapping.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was a humble dude. He was a completely humble dude, and we said, "Can we take a picture?" Yeah, sure. Well, okay,
That's
and we took a
awesome.
picture because every year here in Portugal there's a Portuguese progressive rock fest. Sorry, not metal,
Right.
progressive rock, and the guy that organizes it tends to invite these bands. Actually, Bill Buford's coming here. I mentioned this earlier in
Yeah.
this video, and I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see it because
Oh,
firstly the ticket is 140
ridiculous.
euros. It's
Oh man.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's for 3 days. They don't have a 1 day ticket. They only have the entry for 3 days, which is kind of a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah.
And the only guy that I really, really, really want to see is him, because the rest of the bands, I'm not much of a neo prog fan per se.
Yeah.
I was never much into Marillion. I like some of their stuff, but not
Yeah. Yeah.
that many releases. Actually, I did sort of a deep dive. Sometimes we're into this. I'm gonna discover
Yeah.
new neo prog bands, and I started, and I figured out that Marillion was probably the lamest one of them. Sorry
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
likes Marillion over here,
Yeah.
because
Well,
compared
the
to
other
the
reason they got big, Marillion, I think, is because
yeah,
Maiden, like Iron Maiden. So Bruce Dickinson was a huge fan of Marillion.
yeah,
Chuck, talked them up. So that's
yeah,
the only reason I know about that band is from
yeah,
Iron Maiden. Uh,
from him, right?
right, right. Otherwise, they were like, "Who the hell?" So I don't.
With the
Yeah,
Marillion, right?
yeah. I don't think they're
No,
really
but
that good.
yeah, as I was saying, there's IQ, which is an extraordinary band, and I
Yeah.
believe their later releases, their recent releases, they released an album this year, fantastic release. It's a
Oh,
fantastic album. Yeah, and also a band called the Twelfth Night.
huh.
I
I've not
believe it's
heard of
Twelfth Night.
them.
Yeah, I'll hook you up because they're kind of their name or they were known as Punk Floyd, you know. So like punk and Pink Floyd, they
Yeah.
both go together in this Punk Floyd. It's a kind of a different band. They're progressive, but they're progressive in a punkish sort of way. Because
That's cool.
if you got to understand that at the time, the prog bands and the punk bands were playing in the same venues, sometimes in the same
Yeah.
venues and the same concerts, and they were in the same habitats. So it wasn't like I'm into prog, you're into punk. We never gonna be together. We're never gonna be friends. There
Well,
goes Manowar again. I'm
yeah.
mentioning Manowar many times, and I do like Manowar. Don't get me wrong. I do love. Uh, Actually, one of the first records a friend of mine borrowed me. I remember was Triumph of Steel by Manowar, and at the time I listened to that to death. It was like watching Conan the Barbarian, or
Yeah.
in this case, the soundtrack to a Conan the Barbarian movie. Basically, that was it. That's how Manowar sounds to me
Oh man.
right now.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear Manowar, I tend to go and see those old Conan movies. I have to. I have to.
Now I'll tell you what I think of related to Conan, although it doesn't really sound like the Conan soundtrack. You ever heard Ex Mortis? The
Yes,
band?
yes, I
Yeah.
have.
Those guys,
Cool band. Yeah,
holy cow. Yeah. Just so
yeah,
good.
cool band.
Yeah.
They're a cool band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, there's some bands
And
that
their guitar player is named Conan. So there you
yeah. So then there's that, right? Yeah, but sometimes it's a fantastic thing. And I was trying to
go.
remember if I ever met anybody else. No, so I met Paige Hamilton. I met Steve Hackett. Yeah, I think that was it.
Nice.
Well, I was kind of I spoke briefly to Donald Tardy from Obituary.
I
He
did
was a
an
cool guy.
interview with
Cool guy.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a cool. He seems like the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah, he was super cool, super laid back.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, very
yeah.
chill. Yeah. I talked to him. I
Totally.
talked to Phil Anselmo, which
Yeah, Yeah,
I was freaked out because I was like, "Holy
you
crap!
were.
I'm talking to Phil Anselmo," but he
I'm
was
talking
like,
to Phil and Selma, right?
yeah, he's a super laid back dude. He was like very
He
cool.
seems like the coolest dude, you know.
Yeah,
When you see him live or his lyrical, his posture, you're gonna say,
yeah,
"Hey, this guy's gonna kill you just by looking at you." But no, he's like the coolest guy in the world, right? He seems
yeah,
like a laid back guy. I once saw a YouTube chat with from him with a Brazilian chap that I used to subscribe. I don't know that I'm still a subscriber, but
yeah,
for this for this conversation, that's not important. And he was talking about music, and he knew a lot of things, a lot of he knew a lot of early progressive stuff from the 68, 69, 70, that sort of
yeah,
and tail end of the 60s, he enjoyed a lot of that stuff, experimental stuff that was going on at the time. And you kind of think, well, this guy only hears hardcore and band, but
right.
not
No,
far from it. The guy
yeah.
just likes, he
Well, he's
likes
done
the
a bunch of different kinds of music, really. You know,
Yes,
I
he
mean,
has. Yes, he has. Sure. Yes, he
yeah,
has. He has lots of projects. He's very eclectic, in that way. So he's kind of a guy that he likes music.
yeah,
That's the kind of thing that he just likes music and he does music. It's a
yeah.
bit like Mike Patton. We were talking about Faith
Oh
No
yeah,
More.
yeah,
About
yeah,
Mike Patton records things with John Zorn that you
yeah, yeah.
sometimes it's so difficult, so impenetrable. And then he does this Mondo Carne release with Italian singers, just like a tribute band to Italian singers. And it's great. It's all great. It's
Yeah,
all fantastic. I
yeah,
do love his voice. I do love his stage presence. And it's one of those guys that, can sing anything that he wants.
yeah.
He can sing death metal and he can sing a ballad like Leo Sayer or something like that. And I don't know,
Leo
but the
Sayer
guy
also.
can do it. He can do it.
Yeah,
He's that kind of singer. He's that kind of musician.
yeah,
And to me, that's kind of that's sometimes that sort of thing. It's kind of a gateway to other genres because we were talking about Alex Skolnick. Alex Skolnick has attention deficit and as the Alex Skolnick trio, and that's more prog rock oriented and jazz rock oriented
yeah.
than
What was the
than
one
than
liquid note experiment or?
no, Liquid Tension Experiment is
Yeah.
with Mike Portnoy, Jordan Rudess, and Tony Levin from King Crimson.
All right.
The the Papa Bear,
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
with the thunder fingers, the one with the chopsticks, the drumsticks on the. Did you know that it was Peter Gabriel that asked him to do that?
no,
It was Peter Gabriel. It was on. I learned that I saw a YouTube video of him, an interview of him, and he said the first guy that mentioned the drumsticks to me, and they said that you glued the drumsticks to his fingers and just play like that was for Peter Gabriel, and it was Peter Gabriel that why don't you put that on your fingers and try to play like that? And he did, and after that it was history. He's just started using the thunder fingers as he calls.
that's crazy.
Yeah, because we were mentioning Black Sabbath, and the Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi doesn't have these two tips of fingers
Oh yeah, from the
yeah,
sheet metal licks and it or
yeah. He was working at a sheet metal factory. Yeah, it was
yeah,
his day job, right?
yeah.
and
I guess if he's
he cut off
oh
his
no, he's left-handed, right? Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So it would be his right hand. Yeah,
yeah,
it would be in his right hand, and that's why he had to down tune the guitar. That is why
yeah.
he had to down tune the guitar so that he could play, and that what that brought us sludge metal, sludge, southern rock, and whatever. And
Right.
yeah, it was a coincidence. It was yeah. If he hadn't chopped off his fingers, music would be a lot different now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And it's like the drummer from Def Leppard, right?
Oh
Which
yeah.
is he is a close friend of mine because he almost looks like me, almost. But in his case, he doesn't have the whole arm.
Yeah. It's all the way to his
But
shoulder.
yeah. It was the when the car he was in a car accident, and when the
Yeah.
car flipped over, the seatbelt kind of tore his
Yeah.
arm, and then they tried to reattach it, but there was an infection, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. Actually, I was born like this, so that if anybody watching is wondering, I was born like this. And the guy, I believe, is a better drummer now than he was when he had two hands. It's
Yeah.
a kind of his beats. Yeah, I didn't see them, but they were here on the Slang tour
Okay.
uh, around 96 ish,
Yeah.
7 ish maybe. And a friend of mine went to see them, and he said that he did a drum solo. Wow, he blew his mind,
That's
because he
crazy.
has, I believe, I don't know if it's 27 or 29 pedals to replace his right hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah, it's this hand.
Yeah. It's
No,
his right
what's it?
hand. Yeah.
No, right hand. Yeah. Okay, so he plays like this, and then to substitute the beats with the other hand, he uses, I believe it's an
Yeah.
array of pedals that he has under his. Looks
Yeah.
like
I think
those
it's got different,
Taurus
yeah,
pedals.
different foot pedals that he uses to do different things to
Yeah,
humans. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like Chris Squire. Chris Squire had Taurus pedals, the Taurus, the
Yeah.
boom, that
Yeah.
sound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Well, that
the
guy.
I believe the guy from Dokken also used that. Jeff Pilson always also used that kind of pedal,
Yep.
and Geddy Lee,
Getty Lee.
obviously, he has
Yeah.
to, right, to create those sound. Three guys create the massive sound they do. They have to have pedals and stuff, and they
Yeah.
look like a one-man band. Like
Yeah.
the guys you see on the street that's playing drums, and as he walks he shuckles on things, and he's playing, it's the same thing. they
Yeah.
they they're they were jugglers in that sense. At least Geddy was. Geddy, I believe that Geddy got the short end of the stick, because Alex only played guitar.
Yeah.
It was the guitar player, although he had an array of pedals that went for on and on and on. But and then there was Neil Peart that had all these drums, and the two-wheeler bells in the back. And uh,
Yeah.
luckily, in the later incarnations, they were all substituted, or basically substituted by a trigger pad, so he could take more of because it's like Terry Bozzio. I believe that Terry Bozzio's drums are, if they're being assembled and tuning and stuff like that, it takes days to put that thing in order. That I would get lost in those drums.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It
That's one
would
of
take
those
me
ones
a
you
day to
can't even
feel.
see the drummer. You're just like, where is
Yeah,
he?
you can't even see the drummer in there. Yeah.
Did
But
you read the?
there was also, yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you. Did you read the book? Geddy Lee's book.
No, no, not yet,
It's really
not yet.
good. Really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he talks
I
about
was
that
kind of
whole
interested.
era when they were
Yeah,
into all the
to
pedals and the
yeah, all
synthesizers.
the
He was
things.
like totally into that, and like
Yeah,
how
because
Alex
when you
was
see
kind of
them
put
live,
off about it. Yeah.
yeah, in the '80s when you see them live, he's always operating something. He's always
Yeah.
he's singing, he's playing bass, he's moving his feet around, just
Yeah.
triggering stuff and pom pom pom,
Yeah.
because that was the music. The music was like that, so yeah, they had to bring the sound live. Now you can do it with sampling, but
Yeah.
that's another thing. That's another old avenue that we're not going to get into. Not today. Not today, at least. Uh, but
Uh,
it's cool. It's kind of cool to know that. I
yeah.
actually yesterday, because the power was out, I started reading the King Crimson book.
Oh.
I skimmed through the first 10 or 11 pages of it. The
Yeah.
intro, the preface, the things, and then started. The guy who wrote the book started. Talking about when he knew the band in 1972 at the time. It's kind of cool, to know these little nicks.
Yeah.
I, I,
Yeah.
I was always I was always that kind of guy. That's why I don't know if you noticed. I know a lot of trivia around the bands, and
Yeah, dude.
because
Yeah.
because for me, and I'm gonna put my UFO box, beautiful UFO box again. This is here, but I want to know where this came from.
Right.
I don't want to. I just don't. Okay, this is here. It's beautiful. Let me hang it. Okay, no, I have to. I have to know the music. I have to know that Phil Mogg is the lead singer. I have to know that Pete Way is the bass player. Andy Parker is the drummer. I have to know all these things. I have to know that Michael Schenker was in the band. Michael
Yeah.
Schenker was the guitar player for the Scorpions. He was the brother. He is the brother, actually. He's still
Yeah, he
alive, right?
is.
He was alive.
Yeah.
There is the brother of Rudolf Schenker of the Scorpions. I love his. Incidentally, I do love his projects, the Mogg and Way, Phil Mogg and Pete Way.
Yeah.
I love those two. And he has another project called Sign of Four. I also like that one
What?
with Jeff Coleman on guitar.
Oh,
It's called
really?
Sign of Four. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
I don't
pick you
think I
up.
know that. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
think I know that. Oh,
it's
cool.
more of a bluesy thing. It's not, but it's cool. It's cool
Yeah.
because
I like blues.
yeah, I do too, a lot actually. Once I put a note here, and I put a picture up of my not my part, a very small part of my Grateful Dead collection. because I have a lot of Grateful Dead records. And a guy put a comment in it. I never heard back from him, but he put a comment in it. He didn't understand why a guy from across the pond, from Portugal, was so obsessed with Grateful Dead. And the truth is, I don't even know. But I love the band. I do. I'm a collector because I do. I love their records, especially their '70s output, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated with those releases, especially the live ones. And he started what hooked you up to the band? It is the whole mysticism around Jerry Garcia and the whole thing with the lineup changes. And I said, yeah, maybe all of the above. I don't know,
Right.
but what I do know is that I own a lot of records, and I actually have three coming to me.
Do you ever
Yeah.
read Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test by Tom Wolfe?
No,
So,
no,
because you
no.
know that like Jerry, they used to be they were the soundtracks for some of the Ken Kesey's group, the Merry Pranksters, when they used to do
Yeah,
these basically an acid test where they would drop
yeah,
acid and
yeah,
uh, it was the Grateful Dead. They were like the house band for all those acid tests. But
yeah.
there's a great book. So it's Tom Wolfe's Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. If you really want to read a good book about that time
That
frame,
era. Yeah, yeah.
super cool.
I'll,
Super cool.
I'll
Yeah.
try and do, and I'll try and do that for sure, because
Yeah.
it's cool that we know. Like I told you, I like to know where things come from. I'm not just content to be with what I am right now. This is in front of me, but I don't want to know where this came from. Who are the
Yeah.
bands? Who are the projects? Who are the players?
Yeah.
I tend to do that and to investigate that. I've always been like that.
Speaking
I
of that,
still
are
am.
you I think they were in Europe. Michael Schenker, are you gonna go see him? Because he's doing the
No,
50th
no.
anniversary.
A guy asked me on the comments, right? Asked me about that, but they're going to Spain,
Ah,
and it's not near me. If it was like Vigo, it would be an hour drive, an hour and 20 minutes drive. Okay, that would
yeah,
be easy to do. Okay, but
yeah.
no, they're going to Madrid and stuff like that, so
Uh,
it's
long
a
way.
little farther away. So no, I'm not going to see that. And I mentioned in the comments to him that he's kind of a mercurial player, being that if everything goes well, the show is great. If
Yeah.
things start going wrong, he's not the greatest person, the nicest person. He can be three times worse than Ingve Malmsteen, I believe. Uh, yeah,
That's saying
if you can
something.
picture that, he can be. Yes, he can be. Yeah, he can be really,
Oh
uh,
man.
because it's like the singer, which was. Gary John Barton, I believe. No, not the Gary John Barton. What's the
Um,
other singer's name? The singer in Alcatraz. And
yeah. Shit.
mm,
Glenn or
uh,
is it Glenn? No.
his name is here. His name is in the.
Yeah. Damn it.
So, but he basically had to put up with Michael Schenker. He had to put up with Ingve Malmsteen, so he had to
Yeah.
put up with Richie Blackmore. So he had to these three incredibly talented but very 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 difficult dudes. He had to put
Yeah.
up with him. So that guy, kudos to him. Man.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever do that, but he did it. He pulled it off. He had Ingve. Actually, I think he fired Ingve because he was unbearable because he was trying to sing and the guy was always trying to solo over him.
Oh
That
yeah,
kind of
yeah. Although I
yeah,
do love
that
that
kind of
album with of Alcatraz with Ingve on it. That's
yeah,
totally
yeah, yeah. The first one, yeah, the first
yeah.
they actually have the first record is with Ingve Malmsteen. Second one with Steve Vai, I believe, before he joined David Lee Roth's band.
Oh
Before, yeah,
yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
yeah,
and then the third one is he's kind of I don't, his name escapes me right now, but he was a talented player because he came after these fantastic players. He had to be good,
yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's like in the Scorpions. If you take Uli John Roth, you take Michael Schenker,
Micro
and then
Circuit.
you have Matthias Jabs, right? And so
Yeah,
Matthias has to be a great player. He's a more economical player, but still he can rock out when he wants to. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, a curious thing that I just remembered. I don't know when it was. I think it was in the Graveyard tour. I believe I saw King Diamond live, and he was literally because a friend of mine was organizing the concert. Said that he sang a song and he went backstage and he just with oxygen because he couldn't. He was ill. He was very ill
Really?
at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. But you didn't notice it. Yeah, when he was in front of the stage, he was in front of
He
the
was
stage.
on.
He was all in. You
Yeah.
know. But there was the what I wanted to mention was the guitar players because I love Andy LaRock. But Andy
Andy
LaRock is
LaRock,
a
yeah.
really dude is a phenomenal player, and he can rock out if he want to, but if he wants to, but he remains in his place. He's just he's just hanging out, just
Yes.
keeping the things,
Yeah.
And then there was, I believe, Hank Sherman, the other guitar player at the time, and he was always doing these technical runs, just
Yeah.
arpeggios and stuff like that, and
Sweet kicking like
and
crazy.
just yeah, whatever. And then in just two small details, he made just two small things in one song, and he said, "Okay, this guy is a god," and the other
Yeah.
guy doesn't. That's how you distinguish a virtuoso from a guy that can really play. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
on YouTube, you see lots of videos of guys that can play. Can do all these, but they can they compose something? No, they can't.
Right.
That's why they keep doing
Yeah.
these videos instead of being in a band, playing in a band.
Yeah.
I
Andy,
much rather
he
have. Sure.
he did this great solo on Slaughter to the Soul by At the Gates. I think it
His
on
solos are
Cold.
phenomenal. His work is phenomenal. His
Yeah.
guitar work is phenomenal, and I believe he's kind of an underrated guy because no one mentions him
I,
in the
th-
leagues of
yeah.
of other players.
I think people that are into guitar players and metal guitar players know him though. They just like, oh yeah,
Nah,
Andy
yeah.
LaRock. Yeah.
It's like a musician's musician. It's like Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp is a fantastical player, phenomenal player, but nobody, yeah, outside of musicians, musicians know him.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool and humbling to see that Steve Vai, who's doing now the Beat Tour, is doing, I think, over there in the United
Yeah.
States, is doing it with the guy from Tool, Tony,
Oh,
it's Tony Levin, Adrian Ballou, the
yeah.
drummer from Tool, which name now escapes me, but I'll remember.
Danny Carey.
Danny Carey.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And Steve Vai on guitar. And
Yeah.
reportedly, Robert Fripp saw some performances by him doing his stuff, and he gave him some pointers. He said, "You shouldn't play this like that. You should do this like that." And he was humble enough to accept that,
Yeah.
And he's Steve Vai. We're not talking about a guy, We're talking
Yeah.
about Steve Vai. It's kind of like we were mentioning earlier, Neil Peart at what it was at 45 or 50 years old, he went to a drum teacher again. He
Yeah.
started playing or learning, relearning how to play, or playing in a different technique because he used to have the
Yeah.
traditional grip. No, the grip
Yeah.
was
He more the rock grip, and he went to the
yeah,
jazz grip.
yes, the traditional grip and some yeah. So that was an evolution. It's a humbling thing to do.
Yeah.
I believe,
But
because
I think though that musicians like that they're like it's a lifelong learning experience, right?
yeah, yes, it is. Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
it is. Just because you're an established player doesn't mean you can't learn new things. You can't learn,
That's the beauty about almost well, not almost every art form, right?
yeah,
All the art
sure,
forms.
sure,
That's why
sure.
we do it.
Yeah,
It's
we strive for perfection, for things to move forward, learn new
yeah,
things,
yeah,
doing what we're doing right here.
yeah.
Talking.
Constant discovery, man.
Yeah, that's it. That's what drives us. I believe. I
Yeah,
love a good conversation about music. I haven't had that many now. Nowadays it was better. A lot of people. Nowadays, I have a couple of friends of mine. I talk to them regularly
yeah,
about music, but it's not the same thing. It's
yeah,
now people are not there.
yeah.
Not like us. Like
That's cool.
we we still like the physical thing, the physical aspect of it, to
Well,
want something. It's my
yeah.
wife used to tell me, why do you have this record? It's still sealed. I don't have to open it. I don't need to open it. I know the song
Oh,
by
dude.
heart.
Now, see, if I get an album, I gotta open it because I just feel like it's almost to me like having a guitar and you don't
Yeah,
play it. Like
yeah,
if like when I see some people that like they've got this beautiful Les Paul, it's on a wall, and I'm like,
yeah.
so do you play it? And they're like, no. I'm like,
No.
what? Give it to somebody that will. Then I don't know. It's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
please.
yeah.
I get you. I get you. I get you.
Oh man, I just feel so bad when I see something like that.
One of these days I was One of these days I was at a record store, and there was these three kids in front of me browsing through the vinyl records,
Yeah.
and it was two girls and one boy, and the guy was the one the boy was the one who was skimming through the records, and looking for stuff, and then one of the girls goes to him and says, "Now that you have the record, you have to buy the record player." Because he didn't own a record player, right? So that's kind of the thing,
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah. Well, I
and
guess
I
I
feel
mean
that,
the beauty of albums and CDs too, the physical media is you got the artwork, right? So you've got
yeah,
the cover, you
definitely.
got that.
Yeah, you
That's
got you got the booklet, you got the information, you got the stories. You sometimes got an essay on it.
yep.
It's a treasure trove. It's a kind of it's all in one package. Yeah?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I do at work, I hear music. I have a Cobus. I used to be a Spotify, then I changed the title, and now I'm on Cobus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I have a Cobus account, and on my office, I listen to it. I wouldn't go with my record collection to my work,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
my working station and get, today we're going to hear Manowar, right? Manowar.
Yeah.
Ladies, it's Manowar today. I believe they would enjoy it.
You
Or
never
the
know.
message would pass. Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Ladies, we'll get some sheets of leather now, and we're going to
Yeah. There
ride
you
a
go.
motorcycle and drink some beer. And sing a couple of tunes.
All right. All right. Oh man.
But so for the portability, I believe that there's some merits to this streaming stuff, obviously, right? But
Oh, for
that
sure.
doesn't replace the physical media for me. No, it doesn't.
No. It's like you said, it's convenient. It makes
Yeah,
it for portability and
yeah, sure,
listening in your
sure.
car or whatever, because radio stations
Yeah,
are kind of there's a few radio
yeah.
stations, but not much.
Over there too, because over here they're complete
Yeah. Yeah.
nullity.
They're all independent and very
Yeah,
small. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's not like it used to be years ago. And even then, the radio was more it's the commercial stuff. There would be late night
yeah,
and you'd hear something
yeah.
different, either prog
True.
or the just more deep cuts kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
never heard that. Now with portable media, you can just, I want to listen to UFO while I'm driving to so and so.
You
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 got
do.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
you got it. You don't
Yeah.
have to scour your collection and say, "Damn
No.
it, where's the where's the release? Where's Strangers in the Night? Where's
Yeah. Yeah. You just got it, set up your playlist and boom, there you go.
and boom, you got it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
also helps me because as I've told you before, I still do now. I review some records for a Portuguese website,
Yeah.
and it helps me because I'm not going to buy all those records, right? And I don't have free samples or something.
Right.
In the old days, everybody had the samples and the promo copies and stuff like that. Nowadays, that doesn't
Yeah.
exist,
Yeah.
So for me, it's infinitely more economical,
Yeah.
just
For sure.
or I have to wait for the record to be released.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's no problem. My editor doesn't grind me that much, so I tend to do things in my own time. I do them. I like what
Yeah.
I do, so
There you go,
and
man. That's
yeah,
it. That's
and
that's the best of it, the best of both
yeah,
worlds.
that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it, definitely. But
So what do you got
we're
going
here
on the
to
rest of
try.
your day, man? What else is happening for you today?
Well, not much. At in the morning I was at my mother's house. I was trying to prune some hedges or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I came home and I saw a couple of YouTube videos. That's it.
Yeah,
And now
nice.
my wife is arriving any second now,
All right.
and my life's
Well,
just chilling now.
yeah.
I'm on vacation, so that's it. I'm on
Awesome.
vacation.
Awesome, man. That's great. That's great.
Try to hear some music, just
Yeah.
seeing some things. And then at night we tend to look at some TV shows. Although my wife thinks that my TV shows are too violent, I don't know. They're not.
Yeah.
Actually, not. She says, "Oh, another death! It's another death."
Yeah.
And I try to explain it to him. It's not my fault. It's the algorithms. You know,
Yeah.
it's you look for one thing, and then the other things are all the same. You know.
Yeah. It's like, what? Why am I getting this served? All these mob videos. What the hell?
Yeah, the best shows on the planet.
Yeah.
No violence whatsoever. And then it's like The Wire or OZ or something like
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was trying to for. I'm just I scour the internet as I do for music. I do for other stuff as well. Okay, and I was trying to find a new show to watch with her, and I said, okay, there's this show, and the first scene was a guy laying in blood in the. I said, my God. And I said, okay, let's watch other thing.
We
No,
got to move on.
okay. Yeah, we gotta move on. Not this one, okay? Not
Yeah.
today, not this one. And my wife goes, another death. That's why I become this person. I become you're too violent. And I said, I'm not, you know. My violence is in my music, not in my
There you,
person. Yeah,
there you go.
that's it.
That's it.
I like music with violent subjects, but I'm not a violent person. Not by a long shot. Never.
No, no, I'm
Yeah,
with you, man. Well,
yeah,
dude, it was great talking with you, man. It was
yeah.
we'll have to do this again.
Well, what was it? An hour and a half almost? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
almost an hour. Yeah.
man.
You didn't
Awesome.
notice the time passing, right? That's
All right.
important when we're having fun because if it
That's
was,
right.
oh man, what
There-
can I ask you for next? Oh man, no, that's it's terrible, you know. Or maybe
Awesome.
do like that dude in I believe he's very ill now, Rick Davis from Supertramp,
Yeah.
because I believe he's kind of an Ingvar vibe in him, Ingvar
Oh,
Malmsteen vibe.
oh,
And
that's too
once
bad.
I was reading, yeah, he's now very ill. I think he's have some health issues, and it's pretty serious. But well, kudos to him. You know, I love
Yeah.
his music. I love Supertramp. And I read in a magazine an interview at the time was years ago. It was a magazine, so it was
Yeah.
a physical form in a format. And I was reading then that the interviewer asked them something about the band. Where were they going to tour next, or some basic question, and then he just got up and left. And the interviewer just wrote, and then Rick Davis walked out on the interview. The end. Okay, so so I'm guessing we'll never have to do that kind of thing. You
There
know,
you go, man. There you
we're just
go.
as I've when I reached out to you, is just two dudes having a conversation. You know, hope someone likes it and
Yeah.
gets some ideas out of it. You know,
We
that's the
we had
important thing.
fun. That's the important thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but I was kind of reluctant to do it because sometimes there's those comments, and I don't know if you ever saw them on Substack that say, "Oh no, another live session." Oh no.
Oh,
Sometimes I browse through those kind of comments. No, Substack, please don't let me know. Don't alert me to a new live session. No, no,
yeah.
you don't have to do it.
Well,
You
you can turn
delete
it
the
off. You can
message.
turn it off.
You turn it off. You know,
Yeah.
that's the kind of that's the beauty of it. You don't
Yeah.
have to hear it. You don't have to see it. You don't have to do nothing.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah.
go
You
on
could
with your
just
life,
go.
and we
Yeah.
can continue talking.
Yeah. You skip by, and it's all good.
All good. We're friends. We're
Yeah.
still friends.
Yeah.
We're still
That's
friends
right.
and hanging out. Just two dudes, like I told on the message when and I thank you for for being so courteous to me and
Oh man, it's great.
for
It's great to
for
talk
this
to you, man.
conversation because
Yeah.
yeah because I knew we were gonna have a good conversation because even though we've never spoken
Oh,
personally, when we never, it's kind of. I had a feeling we were gonna, yeah, we're gonna have a good time. You know,
yeah.
we're gonna have some stories to tell, and some
There
brain
you
cells to kill. You know, and so
awesome.
yeah, I hope we do this and again shortly,
Yeah,
whenever
man, that'd be awesome.
you're up to it.
Yeah.
We'll have to hook up again and do something like this because it's super fun. It
Yeah.
is really super fun. And I mentioned I had the idea because I watched the ones you did with Seth. His name
Yeah.
Seth. Yeah, yeah,
Werkheiser. Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
Seth. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Seth. Okay, Seth. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's Seth.
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 Yeah, he's the master. I mean, he's the
Yeah,
guy. He's all about, and it's the reason I got on Substack is because of
yeah,
him and his ethic of, like, get into the real world. I'm granted, we're across an
Yeah,
ocean talking to each other.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you
but
mean. You know what you
yeah,
mean.
but we're actually conversing as opposed to just doing it
Yeah,
all
yeah.
digitally.
And I think that's one of the things that Substack has that's more interesting, not the other way around. You
Yeah,
know, get people talking.
yeah,
Because
sharing ideas and just
yeah, share ideas. Because
sharing the
one of these
interests.
days there was I don't know if it was I that published something or someone a comment that I did, and someone
Yeah,
replied to my comment saying that they were doing a live stream. I don't know if it was Substack or not. I don't know, but
right.
the fellow mentioned that he was doing a live session, and he was talking about Iggy Pop's birthday, and one of his followers or subscribers or whatever didn't know who Iggy Pop was, and he was kind of offended. I said, don't be offended. If you're
Yeah,
talking about Iggy Pop, you surely can explain who the Iggy Pop is to him, right?
right,
And
right.
at least you know David Bowie, right? You
Yeah,
would know 99.9% he knows who David Bowie is. So then work from there,
yeah, yeah,
David Bowie. Yeah,
yeah,
then Iggy Pop, then Mark Bolan, then
yeah,
Rod Stewart, then Steve
yeah.
Marriott, then the Faces, and you go on and on and on and on, and you get out of these live sessions an expert in glam rock and stuff like that.
That's right, man. That's
That's
right.
the beauty of music, because
Yeah,
there's always connections to be found. So,
true.
and I believe that he was, he was trying to, he was looking at the things the wrong way. I believe, in the wrong
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah,
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 because one of the you were talking about the reason you're here. I'm here because of an interview I saw Rick Beato on his channel.
yeah.
He interviewed Ted Gioia, one of the most prominent, important figures here on Substack. And I said, okay, I'm looking for an outlet. So, okay, I'll try this,
Yeah.
I'll try this out. Okay. And a couple of months ago, he published something about Spotify, an article on Spotify and on ghost profiles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And, yeah. And I said, well, I believe you're looking at this the wrong way, Ted. Don't get me wrong, but the problem is not the ghost profiles. The ghost profiles are everywhere. Bots are everywhere. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. There's cookies. There's all these kind of things that gather information on you and use it to their advantage. So what I'm saying is that what I'm trying to say is that if I want to hear jazz, I'm not going to Spotify and listen to the top 10 tracks that they have over there because they're not even jazz anyway to start
Right.
from, right? So I believe that sometimes it's maybe the laziness of people sometimes that
Oh,
that
for
kind
sure.
of kind of contributes to this thing. And if Spotify keeps adding these ghost profiles, is because they can get money off them, because if they couldn't, if nobody visited them, nobody streamed them,
Yeah,
they would
it would be.
disappear, just like anything on the internet, right?
Right,
uh,
right. Yeah,
but,
that's
you
why.
know
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that sometimes people are looking at the things in the wrong perspective. What
I think it's just
preoccupies me is not so much the ghost profiles, is the person that visits them and thinks that they are real, and they are real bands or real artists.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what what can you do, right?
That's right, man. All right,
Yeah,
brother. Well, I hope the rest of your day is awesome, and we'll have to do this again.
yours too. Yes,
All
we
right.
have. Sure, we have it. Okay, was a
All right.
pleasure, man. Okay,
Take care,
see you
buddy.
next time.
All
Right?
right. See you, man.
Bye. Bye.